Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Kardec Radio, where we're here to nourish our souls. I'm Norah, the host of this program, backed by Joanna de Angelis and Divaldo Franco. This is the book. We are in the third part of the book, and all the messages there are related to trust in God, trusting in the divine, trusting. And today's very interesting. Have we ever thought about trusting time? So let us imagine ourselves, right? There's a difference when we are 1 hour with someone that we truly love. It's almost like time blinks, right? But isn't it different than when we're waiting in fear or in pain? Like it seems like time is endless. So we start to see that, well, we think that time is measured by clocks. It's really the soul that experiences the time, friends. And that is a segue to today's message. So let us read what our dear Joanna and Divaldo have for us today. The message says, time to a wise person feels differently than to an ignorant person. Someone trying to get somewhere experiences time very differently than someone who's waiting. The sick and the healthy differ in the way they experience time. The same applies to those who love and to those who are indifferent. So we all live under the same sun, but we don't all experience time the same way. Our emotions, awareness, and our spiritual maturity shape how we feel time passes, right? So a person in love, right? Let us remember when we're in love, we might wish to have more time in this scenario with this person. Let's say we're in grief. We just beg time to speed up. So sometimes we wanted to slow down and sometimes we just needed to speed up. So we know that every moment, or at least we're trying to understand that every moment carries a meaning, and that to treat time, it should not be a burden, but rather a gift. So it's so interesting, friends. Actually, I don't know that I've shared this before. A couple of years back, and it reminded me about time. Went to Virginia there to visit the Spiritist Society of Virginia, right? Today, a special day on June 19th as well. Remember, we were celebrating, and one of those nights, Vanessa, Carol, and Daisy, and Little Virginia, we actually went to this cafe. It was so cold. I'm from South Texas, friends. And it's funny because it felt like the moment from the car to go inside, it was endless, just the cold weather. So then we go inside, we grab our coffee. We got hot chocolate that day, right? With beautiful French bread, like different pastries. It was a French bakery. Then we find this beautiful spot. We sit down and we just talk and talk. It was so beautiful. We were there for a couple of hours, but it seemed like a blink of an eye. It was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. Oh my gosh, the feeling when it all had to come to an end. We just didn't notice it because it was so powerful. That beautiful experience made me realize, and thank you for allowing me to share, that time spent in connection with someone feels completely different than when we spend time worrying, right? So it's that moment reminded me, or all of us that have had those moments, right, reminds us that the quality of moment depends so much more on our state of heart and mind. So let us think, when we're in those moments where we're with our friends or with special ones, a loved one, there's just something so beautiful, right? Because our hearts and our souls are open to that. Now, in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 5, item 20, and that's the part where we are reminded that our happiness is not of this earth. To paraphrase and to remind us about time, right? We see in that section, we are described the scenarios of like suffering and pain, but we understand through time, and especially how we see it in Joanna and Divaldo's way of experiencing time, that the importance of earthly life is truly relative, right? In the view of eternity, it's really nothing. It is of great importance because it serves as a means of development for the spirit. So we start to see how we live our life, right? And our time matters more than how much, like how we live it, than how much we have. So even the hardest seasons can serve as stepping stones towards growth and light. So we see this beautiful message, how our challenges and our perspective of time help us reach to growth and to light, right? As we're trusting this. And then in the Bible, to make a biblical connection, 2 Peter 3:8, right? With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like one day. This verse reminds us that God operates in a very different rhythm. So when we surrender our sense of, I should be there by now, we make space for trust, knowing that divine time is always working for our growth. So we see in the Gospels from that message, that a beautiful advice from the Spirit about how our trials, they're not eternal, they're temporary, but they make us grow. And then we see how God sees time. It's a very non-linear. So we start to learn that when we trust, right? Like if we feel like we're running out of time or waiting too long for something to change, and we've all been there, right? There's actually a current situation I'm going through, and it's been, I want to say, several years, and it does seem forever. It seems forever. But let's take a breath, right? Let's remind ourselves that God doesn't rush. He doesn't stall. He aligns. He or she aligns. So that's powerful message. When we have our trials, we know, as we see the message from the spirits, happiness is not of this planet, but it's through those moments and the time that we have and how we put ourselves, right? And then we start to understand that God sees time differently. We start to trust. Now, is it easy? It's not, friends. I'm telling you, it's been a couple, like almost 8-9 years, been waiting and waiting. And we have to keep understanding that it's not in our time, right? It's God's time. Let's not measure our time by clocks, although it's really difficult. But instead, let's try to measure it by love, by growth, and by trust. So let us do a visualization just to get us into that moment. So the first thing is we close our eyes if we can. We see ourselves in an empty room. There's nothing there. No noise, no movement, nothing on the walls. It's just an empty room. We start to lose notion of how long we've been there, for how long we will be there. Naturally, we start to feel all sorts of emotions rush through us as we're there in this apparent endless time that goes so slow. But now, we go through another door, and let us imagine ourselves in a beautiful cafe with our loved ones. It could be our partner, our friends, our family, even someone who's departed. We hear the laughter around us. We smell the coffee. We taste the food, the pastries. We're talking, connecting. And then boom, we don't feel time. It becomes special and unique. And then we come out of those scenarios, and what do we learn? That this whole time, it wasn't the clock. We changed in those scenarios, friends. So let us imagine us like that. We go through different rooms in our lives. Sometimes there's those tough rooms. It seems like, when am I going to get out of here? How? And sometimes we can't find the door, right? But then we come out of there and then we go to these other beautiful spaces, safe space full of love, compassion, movement, and all those things that just bring so much love and joy to our hearts, right? And at the end of the day, it wasn't the time, it's our perception. So the homework for the week is, as we're going through our week, our day, right? No matter what scenario, let us work with time and let us understand that we are the ones that are changing and experiencing it. And that will help us, right, dear friends? That is today's message. Let us tune into other programs here at Kardec Radio, where we're always nourishing our souls. And let us remember, dear friends, always that we are loved. Until next week, same place, same time. Bye, friends.